Beruchim Habaim. Moshe Langado here speaking under the auspices of Kollel Havat Yisrael and Sha'rei Tziyon here in Brooklyn, New York. This week's Parsha, Parshat SHELACH, we have the story of the Meraglim, but it ends off with an interesting mitzvah, the mitzvah of tzitzit, that a Jew was obligated to put on his four-corner garment tassels, tzitziyot. And one of the purposes is, for what? To remind us of God, that God's always with us. And maybe that was a tikkun, that is come to rectify the sin of the spies, not realizing that God would be with them in their battle for Eretz Yisrael. Yes, they did see giants. Yes, they did see fortified cities. But with the Borei Olam on your side, giants are weaklings and fortified cities are dust. As we've seen in the Battle of Jericho, that great fortified cities, the walls came tumbling down. When we read it to see, that is what we should remember, that God is with us, and we shouldn't be scared of anything, because Shomer Yisrael is always protecting us. My friends, there's more. My father, Alav HaShalom, worked for the U.S. Navy. The Navy is very particular with their uniforms. Be it you're on the base or you're off the base, you must be dressed properly. And they even have an amazingly handsome uniform for formal events. Oh, totally white suit with a sword, with a casket, beautiful. Those men are made to look like American Adonises. My father, one time, had to go and speak to the commanding officer, a man who was known to be very tough, very strict. And the reason my father had to speak to him was that he had to ask permission to take off Chol HaMoed. It was my father's desire never to work on a holiday during Chol HaMoed. And he always had to ask permission from the commanding officer. And the commanding officer sometimes changed within the years. And now a man who's supposed to be tough and very strict is the new commanding officer. My father was petrified. He came in front of the commanding officer, might have been an admiral, and he told him, "Sir, I requested a favor from the U.S. Navy. I'm a Jew, and I do not like to work on the Jewish holidays, what is called Chol HaMoed." And the officer smiled and said, "Mr. Langado, you know I am a very tough person, and there might even be rumors that I'm an anti-Semite. And I don't like Jews. Do you believe that?" My father said, "No, sir." And he told him, "Thank you for answering in such a positive and clear-cut way. Let me tell you a story. I was based in South Carolina, and a southern woman came in to visit me, and she asked me a favor. What was the favor? The favor was that her daughter was just turning 16, and it was a debutante. That means like a going out to the world. And they had a big party planned for her. And this woman said, "You know what would make that party so much finer? If I would have 10 American sailors come to the party dressed in very regular, dressed in their formal uniforms. Please, sir, can you invite 10 of your men to come on Sunday night to my mansion in South Carolina?" And he said, "It would be my pleasure." Before she left, she said, "But officer, can I ask you something else?" "Yes, sure. You know, we here are good Christians. Please don't send us Hebrews. You know what I mean. They are uncouth. They are not proper for our setting." The officer, the admiral, smiled and he says, "I understand you perfectly. Don't worry about a thing." Came Sunday, and Admiral found 10 of his most handsome officers, dressed them in full uniform, and had him driven to this tremendous mansion. They knocked at the door, and a party was going on. And besides the party going on, a butler answered the door. Yes, can I help you? And he looked. He says, yes, we are invited for the debutante, for the party. And he smiled, and he let them in. All of a sudden, who came down? The lady of the house. And she was shocked. She turned red and white. And the admiral said, you know why? He told my father. He says, no, I don't understand. He says, you're right, I didn't send the Hebrews. I sent the Negroes. My friend, we don't know who our friends are. But my point is not that. My point is how important for us to dress properly. And part of the uniform of the Jew is the men must wear tzitziyot. The men should wear a head covering. The women should always be dressed in a tzanua way, in a proper and beautiful way, so they would represent the holy nation of Israel. To you I all wish Shabbat Shalom.